Party people, what's going on? Samaj Marsh again, founder of BlueDeathValley.com, and I want to welcome you guys back to round two of our National Sign Day show on Inside the Valley, the podcast that's devoted to relentless coverage of A&T football. Of course, I got my two co-hosts here with me to help me out, and they're here on time tonight. They're not in transit. First up, former A&T wide receiver and a Greensboro native, my man Dougie Fresh Brown. What's going on, Dougie?
Hey, what's up, gentlemen? Aggie Pride, Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride. And of course, the man in the middle, always telling facts, just not speaking riddle. He is longtime A&T insider, beat writer on BlueDeathValley.com for over 2 decades. The current president of the Greensboro chapter of the AAF, and my right-hand man, Craig Turner. What's up, CT?
CT.
Hey, what's up, guys? Aggie Pride, back for round two.
Round two. It was so nice we had to do it twice. So yesterday, in case you missed it, we got the full final list of the signees of National Signing Day, and that was also combined with the early signing day class. So the final head count that we officially got from the school was 22. I don't think that includes the preferred walk-ons, right? And from what you've been hearing, but what you've been hearing, Craig, they're still canvassing the landscape for talent. They might bring in some other guys throughout the spring, so that number might go up. But right now we got 22 guys. And it's a star-studded affair. We had some names that I wasn't really expecting us to get, be honest with you. And we had some talent. The talent level, especially when it comes to size, is something that usually you don't see from the high school ranks at the FCS level. You usually have to get somebody to transfer down, and but to get these guys straight out of high school at this size, and some of these guys we brought in, that was really unprecedented. So, real quick, Douglas, what's the overview of the yesterday's announcement?
And we got some talented.
Did Doug freeze up on you, Craig?
Yeah.
He froze. All right. Well, we starting off great.
Still unfreezing.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure Doug's out. So Craig, you help us out here. Tell me, what was your overview? Because you was actually at Ground Central. What was your overview of yesterday?
It was a big day. As Coach Brown would say, it was a great day in Aggie Land. We got some studs. We got some studs up front. We got some kids now that we got some kids with the size now that we can go toe to toe with CA teams for 4 quarters. And I think that was really the one big missing element, especially defensively, that we were missing last year. Is that we were in ball games, we made plays, but we just could not hold up over the entire 60 minutes. And now with the infusion of the kids that we brought in, both at the linebacker and along the defensive front. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna be more than okay. We'll be able to get into a slugfest with some of these big boys.
Okay, so I feel a lot more confident than I'll be honest with you than I was going into it. Because I always hark back to what Coach Brown said at the end of the season. We got to get bigger, stronger on that line of scrimmage, and I think we start making some definite steps to that. So we're going to go through the list again for everybody who missed out yesterday, and then we're going to actually give our own official grades on this year's signing class, and we're going to open up the show at the end of the show to the fans. You can chime in and you give your own personal grades and your thoughts on how we did. But first, I want to go ahead while Doug is still working his Wi-Fi issues out. I want to go ahead and welcome our number one VIP guest for the evening. This has been a long time coming because he's kind of international man of mystery. I've been trying to figure out who this guy was. and I'm fond of his handiwork. But I want to kind of see the guy behind the name. So let's bring in to the show our A&T defensive coordinator, Josh Zidenberg. Coach, how you doing?
How we doing, guys?
Pretty good.
Hey, there he is. All right.
I
So,
do
Coach.
exist. I'm a real human being. I'm not a robot or anything.
No, man. Hey, I see you on the sideline being animated, and
Yeah,
I
probably
tell
acting
you,
like an insane person.
man, I love it, man. I love that passion, and I think it resonated with your players. I think they definitely responded to your energy, and I think whenever you talk about coaching, man, there's a lot of factors, and it goes into wins and losses. But you want to be able to look at a roster and say, did we get the most out of what we had, as far as the talent level? And I think most people who observed A&T, especially on defense last year, that would be a yes. I think we really, we squeezed that rag as much as we could and got as much talent, got as much out of our talent. What was your assessment of this, how the defense performed last year?
It's first and foremost, I would say, and Coach Brown and I come from, if you were like, hey, what's the tree that we delineate from, because everybody's just kind of wondering, and we come and stem from, the same and similar one, which, if you really want to, just trace it all the way back, it's the Parcells, it's the Belichick and Saban, it's all the way kind of down that, this cliche saying that I'm about to say, obviously, it's been heard before, but at the end of the day, you are what your record says you are.
Yes, sir.
I don't run from it. I told the defensive guys we're not going to hide from it. We've got to own it, and we've got to accept it, and we've got to make a decision whether we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again, or are we just going to let it just permeate and fester. To me, that's the number one job and aspect of this off season that we've got to make sure, does not happen again. And so, I would say, I am by no means happy and okay with how we finished off, because at the end of the day, defense, offense, special teams, we're here to win ball games. The players deserve to win. The fan base deserves to win. The university deserves to win. And there's a history of winning, and that's what we're here to do. And to be honest with you, if we don't, we're not going to be here long, and we shouldn't be.
Right.
And you got to understand that that's just the nature of the business, and this is what we signed up for. And you want a fan base that's passionate. You want a fan base that has high expectations. Because at the end of the day, it makes it even better when the results start to play out. And if you'd asked me before the season if I thought we'd be 1-10, I'd have told you you're crazy.
Right.
And that's outside of anything that maybe potentially thought, hey, yeah, it'd be nice if we had a little bit more at this position or this position. At the end of the day, to me, what's great about the coaching profession is our job is to put players in positions to be as successful as possible. Stop telling me about what you don't have. Tell me about what you do. It's
Yes,
easy to talk about the negatives. Oh, you know what? We just need better players. Well, then why do you need coaches if you just have the best players? You know what I mean? That's the job. That's the art. That's the fun thing to me about it, is finding a way to put what you do have and the players that you do have in positions to be successful. And so, a long soapbox kind of response to kind of your first question to say, all in all, to me, the best thing about defensively that I'm most encouraged about, and really it's a testament to the players, it's nothing to do with myself or the coaches, in my opinion, is we got a bunch of guys who, from opening kickoff to the final whistle blows, on the defensive side of ball, compete and fight. And to me, the best example you could ever look at, if you wanted to just take a microcosm picture of this last season, was Campbell game. It's 28-0 with before halftime, 4 minutes left. And you're looking at a team that's 1-9, and there's really nothing to play for if you really want to look at it. And from the defensive side of things, we get a good stop going into halftime, and then out of halftime, make some adjustments, and they don't score another point. And in me, that just shows the character, the buy-in, and just the type of young men that we have. At least on that side of the ball, that to me, speaks volumes again about them. Um, and to me, that is a foundation and something that you can build off of and be really excited about. Because if nothing else, my hope and my goal is to make sure that, everybody who's watching knows, listen, this, whether it turns out the way we want to, you're going to get everything you got from this defense, from the defensive side of the ball when you watch A&T football.
And you know what, Coach, I think when you talk about like that Campbell game, there's other parts of the season too where I point and say, you know what, these guys are fighting. Like, they might not have all the bullets in the gun that they need, but these guys are fighting. I look at the Elon game and how the third down, how we were on third down. We had great, our efficiency on third down on defense was great. You look at the final statistics, we were, I believe, number 2 in the conference in red zone defense.
Yeah, right? We're actually the top 25 in the country.
And so that means these guys when their backs were against the wall, they bowled up and they just didn't let the team just walk into the end zone. They had some fight. So and I'm passing on to my other guys here, Craig and Doug. But Coach, at this point, right? This is February the 8th, 2024. How much better do you feel about your roster, your defense now today than you did at the end of that Campbell game?
I feel I'm very encouraged, and I'll tell you this, and I think the more and more as time goes, and I have the pleasure of getting to be around and knowing you all and the rest of the fan base. I try to be a very positive, optimistic, guy, and to be honest with you, it wasn't a natural, thing for me just personally growing up, but it was one of those deals where you just kind of start to learn to just try to say, hey, listen, you're going to at least be better off. You're going to have a better mindset. You're going to project a better aura with the people around you, with that type of just, outpouring and thought process. And so, I was encouraged last year. And I'm, even more so encouraged this year, having been, and you can obviously look at my resume. I've obviously been a lot of places at this point in my career and had the good fortune of coming in, as a brand new staff with a complete rebuild, walking into a situation where, you've already got a good foundation, this, that, and the other. And so year 2 is always, a not more exciting, but it's a probably a little bit more encouraging year when you're able to keep as many pieces as possible. And now again, it's definitely different with the transfer portal and all those things, because before that existed, you could definitely count on, exactly who's coming back and exactly what you're building upon. Now there's obviously a little bit of mystery to it because who knows who's going to potentially call and all that stuff. But in essence, you feel like, okay, we're only going to improve unless you're just a super heavily senior laden team, which most of the time you don't walk into that. But just from the aspect of now it's not everything's the first time with a complete new system, with a complete new philosophy. So just that aspect alone, when you're thinking going into off season, going into spring ball, it's not learning from square one, it's building upon, and now you've got a full year of film to coach off of, teach off of. It should only at least improve, where things are, at least from obviously our side of the ball, because, there's the continuity is staying the same, and the system staying the same. So, I'm really, really excited of just the ability
So let me cut you off. So you said is that a breaking news? You guys are not going to change your defensive scheme. You're still going to be same 3-4. I guess that Coach Brown style defense, right?
Well, so to me, it's funny because people will ask, and obviously when I got here, they asked, well, what do you run? And obviously the system that we're based out of is predicated off of 3-4. Now, obviously, my path has gone a little bit, astray from where Coach Brown was. We haven't been together forever. So, branched out a little bit. And one of the big differences you would notice potentially just from our 3-4 base is, us playing more 4 eyes as opposed to true 4 techniques.
Right.
And some of that is just based off of, who you have. It's a little bit more easier to, to find the gaps, not have to find, because it's definitely more difficult to find true 2-gap guys, especially at the college level, and even more so, at, the FCS level. And not that it can't be done, but when people ask, I always just tell them, we're a multiple defense, and if you really looked at the stats defensively, the amount of 3-down we played, it was probably 15%. I mean, we really were more of a 4-down, we call it a bench front, but it's basically an under. But I just tell people, listen, again, at the end of the day, our job is to put the players that we have and that are available in the best position possible to be successful. And whatever we need to run schematically to win this game or give us the best opportunity to win this game, we're going to win it. And if you look through our track record and my track record at Ball State, and kind of what we put together there, I would say you could cut on the film and you could be like, oh, they're a 3-4 team. And then you could cut on the film 2 weeks from then and you'd be like, oh, they're a 4-2-5. And then you could probably look at us 2 weeks later and you'd be like, oh, they're a 3-3 stack. And again, it's all predicated off of, again, just trying to figure out, hey, do we have the players to execute this? Yes, we can piece that together. Okay, let's put them in the position then to, develop
Coach,
that scheme.
Is that hard to be that multiple, like to install that and to have the players to retain? Like, talk about the difficulty of, because it seems like you know your stuff, right? And you really want to communicate your stuff to your players. How hard is it for them to understand? Like, we might be 4-2-5 this week. We might, how hard is that from coaching standpoint?
So to me, I think it's so we can have a particular call, but we can execute that call from a variety of different pictures. And so the call and the assignments and the communication really isn't different. It's really just how are we deploying it and what is the picture pre-snap that we're showing. When in the reality is you can keep it all the same, but instead of, hey, up front, you're aligning in your fit. Now we're maybe on the snap, we're going to step to our fit or we're going to move to it. When if you pause it post-snap, you could say, oh, well, that's almost as if they line with 4 down, but we may lined up in a 3-down pre-snap. You know what I mean? It's so to me, it's not as difficult as maybe it may initially sound like to deploy. Now, listen, we're not making wholesale, philosophical changes and adding, significantly new calls to what we do. It's really just more of, hey, this is how we need to deploy, and this is what we feel like is going to give us the best opportunity and chances, this week. And listen, if we try it on Tuesday, the first practice, and we're like, hey, listen, let's see what this looks like. This could be good. And it's like, listen, we're better off just going back to what we know how to do. And that's what we're going to do. But again, I think you can easily convince yourself to not explore other opportunities and not try to adapt and change, even if your gut's telling you, hey, listen, I think this would be really good if we can do it. You know what? The guys can't do it. Well, how do we know they can't do it? I mean, it's our job to try to coach them and teach them and try to get them in position to do it. And again, I'm not sitting here saying we're reinventing the defense every week. I'm just sitting here saying, like, well, listen, if we can teach it in a way to where, listen, instead of lining up in a 5, you're going to line up in a 4. But we're going to move you to still that same gap responsibility, your same rules, etc. But by aligning this way, we're now going to be in better position because it's going to eliminate the ability for them to, double down and then come and climb up to the linebacker. We really need to get the linebacker over the top and be able to be free, because if not, we're going to get pin and pull concept down our throat, etc.
Man.
So go ahead,
Coach. Let me cut you off. This is beautiful because, like, I gotta see. I'm like a loud. I'm a loud mouth. I say the wrong thing at the wrong time. I get on Twitter after like a bad loss and I start saying crazy stuff. So I gotta make sure I don't get on your bad side, because I want you to come back throughout the season and break down like football like this, because you never hear this much in-depth analysis, especially from A&T football. We don't have a platform to talk shop like that. So I gotta make sure I don't get on your bad side. But look, Craig, you were at the signing day event last night, and you got a chance to hear Coach Jay-Z in person, and you came back and said, "Man, that guy sharp, Smudge." So Craig, tell me what was your takeaway of Coach Jay-Z his first season?
Don't be spreading lies.
Well, I thought he did a great job. Yeah, well, I thought he did a great job with under the circumstances with which he came in, because you had to. A&T we had our backs up against the wall from the beginning of the season. I mean, let's be clear about that. We lost a lot of players. We had a bunch of young kids who hadn't played. First time, a lot of them first time college football. Got other guys who were getting their first real opportunity, even though they had been on the team. I think the biggest thing I saw about our defense, even though the record may not indicate it, was that kids got better each and every game.
Yeah.
On the ball. Like you said about the Campbell game, that was a game where we could have easily just packed it in at 28-0, but they made plays and they kept them off the board. I thought the game up in Delaware, I think we played a really good game, and we were outmanned, but we played those guys straight up. Same thing with Rhode Island. And that's a game. That's a game I wish we could replay. Because I thought our defense played just a tremendous game and turning them over. Yeah, turning them over. Unfortunately, it works both ways. But I thought that was against a team that scores a lot of points. We did a really good job with the kids that we had. So I understand where. I understand what the challenge was last year. So my thing is how well does he feel? How well do you feel last year benefited all those young kids that you played on defense, especially kids like Kate Malador and Josh Isaiah, Chris Allen, those guys, Chris Abraham. Those guys were rock solid, fought through injuries and kept on playing. How do you feel about your core group that is coming back in this spring?
And, I'm really excited, to be honest with you. And that's one of the areas to me. It's obviously a growing pain, and it's a little bit tough sometimes maybe going through it. But the reality is as you kind of just alluded to, I mean, you can look at our front seven a lot of times throughout the season, and 5 of the 7, potentially were true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, and
Exactly.
to even take it another step, the ones that were veteran guys, if they were in there, some of the times that those individuals, it's their first time playing either. So even though by their name it may be junior or senior, Malik Jacobs' first start was week 1, which unfortunately I wasn't even at the UA. Well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, because my third daughter was born. But
yeah. Come on now. Hey, you better, if your wife hears you, man, you go
no doubt.
in the doghouse.
So she's gonna walk down there. But no, the experience that they gained, is invaluable. And again, it's hard when you're kind of going through it. But the reality is they only are going to be better for it, down the road. And like I said, you just hope that you're around long enough to reap the benefits of when they are juniors and seniors, and you're like, and a lot of the teams we faced, if you go through the roster, I mean, there's a lot of veteran teams in the CAA that have been together, and one of them just being familiar with, because I was there when they were all freshmen in 2019, or a large group of them, and knowing them and being familiar with them, at William and Mary, and then you see their roster, and you're like, 6 year, true senior, and it's no surprise that the results are now starting to show, for them. And so to me, it's a product of, and like we talked about, this 24 class for sure, and then obviously pieces of the class that came in prior to last season. The reality is it's truly our first class as an entire staff together, and we feel really strong that they're going to be the foundation, and what, in 3-4 year times, we're looking back and they're like, oh wow, how did A&T get to the point where we're in the quarterfinals and we're in the semifinals, and God willing, we're in Frisco, Texas for a national championship, and and that's kind of what we sold, and we don't feel like it was a used car salesman type of sell, but it was a honest, legit, true sell. Like, listen, y'all are going to be the ones that A&T has already solidified themselves and put them at an elite level and height, but there's always another step to be taken, and when they're like, hey, how did that next step occur? Y'all are going to be the class that could say, yeah, we were the class that took it, from here to here. And so, super excited again about just the young men that are still here, and where now, the trajectory is for them, because I do think there is some young talent across the board that maybe took some lumps, but also showed enough to where you're like, listen, give them another year or two, and we got a guy. And now again, the difficulty is now just trying to make sure that they, don't leave because of how just the nature of college football is, and they put up, great numbers. Because I can tell you right now, there's some guys that I think, after the end of this upcoming season, it wouldn't surprise me if they came in my office and were like, Coach, I got my DMs flooded with people telling me I can get this, and this.
Yeah.
Because there's some guys that I expect really big seasons out of, and know they have the ability to be,
and different
type of guys.
And Coach, you know what? And Doug, I'm gonna throw it to you real quick. But Coach, I look at it like this: when Duke, when they had Zion Williamson and R.J. Barrett or whatever, the Duke fans didn't say, "Oh man, why do we recruit these guys? They're in the NBA now, right?" If you got that great talent, and obviously, if the big boys come trying to court your guys away, they must have done something productive, right? So if we get a great, awesome season from a player, and then the price is just too high to retain them, that's a win. And I think you use that as a recruiting point. You're like, look here, you come to A&T, you produce here, you can be like this, you can be like Michelle Tootin, right? You can be a Virginia Tech. And I don't feel bad about that based on where we are as the SEF program. But
no, I 100% agree. Not to cut you off, but to me, I've even mentioned it in staff meetings to where I do think the caliber, and again, it's a little bit of, are you in a situation where you have enough time to where you can go out and you can recruit high school players and let them marinate and kind of go through some lumps, but know you're going to be better off from the development from them, and ultimately be a better program for it. Or do you got to go portal? Because if you don't get someone right now, you're not going to be there. And to me, with our situation, I do think at the group of 5 and the FCS level, you can get a better high school player than you ever could have before. And, the reality is listen, because it comes up, of course, when you're just talking of, all right, well, do we have, are we going to be able to keep them? If they come here and they ball out, they're going to probably potentially be gone in 2 years. Well, to me, I look at it, alluding to kind of what you said. Well, listen, it's 2 years of production that you'd rather have or you wouldn't have. I'll take it.
Exactly. That's 2 years of Zion Williamson. I would take that over not having him. So
right.
if he balls out, he balls out.
Right. And to me, I'm like, listen, you could get mad and you can get frustrated and be upset about the portal thing and all that. But at the end of the day, if you're in this profession for to me, at least what I believe is the true essence and what makes it so great, which is to help better and develop young men, not just on the football field, but off of it as well. Then listen, if there's an opportunity for them that's ultimately better for them and what they feel like is going to make them happy, then you should let them flourish, support them, and help them however you can. And to me, that's really, the goal. And ideally, obviously, if you can keep them and they're willing to stay, then great. But listen, you can be mad about them leaving or not, but you being mad about it isn't going to stop them from leaving. You're just going to be mad, and now it's going to affect everybody else. So, listen, it is what it is, and until it changes or until there's new regulations or rules about it, then let's just stay here in the now. This is what we have. This is what we operate, and try to make it as good as possible.
And I like the fact that you guys are not just moping about, oh man, the big boys are taking what we got. Now, I mean, you kind of like say, okay, well, this is still an opportunity for us to get benefit, because like you said, now we're able to access some of the top high school talent that we wouldn't have the chance to do years before. So that's cool, just to be forward thinking. But let me throw to Doug. Doug, you were at the Sunday event also, and you were talking about Coach Jay-Z, his great oratory skills, his presence on the mic. So, Doug, what questions do you have for Coach Jay-Z now that he's here?
Hey, well, I mean, first of all, Coach, hell of a job you done on the recruiting trail. We follow you guys on Twitter, and we also follow a bunch of the kids that are out there. And just to see some of the guys that you guys were able to land. Key puzzle pieces, as you like to show off, man. I love when you put the puzzle piece up, letting guys know, hey, man, we got another piece to the puzzle. First off, that lets us know, how detail oriented you are and that you're focused and you understand the grand scheme of things, that there's some kids out there that can help us. And then second of all, man, I came in last night just expecting to sit back and just hear about some of the guys we've already heard about and watch some of the tape. But, man, when you got on the mic, you and Coach Brown, man, I had to sit up a little bit, Craig, because I felt like in a player's meeting, and I had to start taking my notes. Man, the way you guys broke down those kids' film, and probably what I thought was most impressive is that you were able to recite those kids' stats. I mean, you knew them up and down. You knew how.
No, don't tell me he froze again. Doug, you're killing me. Oh, well, I think what Doug was going to say was that you had like almost a photographic memory. He was saying of the players' stats.
Listen, now you're giving me too much credit. I'm not that daggone smart now. I promise you that.
Now, I have a question though. So you talked about like the CAA's teams having a lot of older players, graduate 6-year players, we call it COVID guys. And one of the things that we had to mandate from Coach Brown, he said at the end of the Campbell game, we got to get better and bigger, stronger on the defensive line. We signed a bunch of freshmen interior tackles this year. What's the expectation? Are you prepared to thrust those guys to the wolves and say, can you line up against a 24-year-old, or how are you going to bring those guys along, and what's the plan for those guys?
Yeah, so it kind of came down to, and listen, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you there weren't portal guys, interior wise that we also weren't, trying to get. And again, it just kind of goes into, okay, listen, as you start to rank and order guys, all right, this would be our first round, this would be our second round. Okay, at what point do you get to where, all right, is this portal guy going to be a better option than this high school guy? And now as you start to kind of potentially get to that, if you do, now you start to just kind of analyze and think through, all right, who do we know more about? Who are we getting more information about? And the reality is also, okay, who can we assure is going to be on the roster in the 2024 season? Because it's not like, hey, you get a portal guy to commit and they sign something that it's worth anything. Because until they step on your campus and they enroll in school, they can still go wherever they want, as opposed to signing an LI where you're like, all right, well, we at least got them for a season.
So say that again now. So you can get somebody in the portal and that's still not binding?
Correct. So they don't sign like an NLI like a high school kid does. So a portal guy, signs, and we send them, their grant and aid and all of that. But technically, until they enroll in class and get here, in the summertime now, that's why the push for the mid-year gets crazy, because it's a little bit shorter window. But until they get here and actually like set foot and actually do something, and there's like 3 or 4 criteria, they're technically not bound to you like a kid, like the high school kids who signed yesterday or in December. When they sign that NLI, they're yours. You know what I mean? So that's an aspect of it that makes it a little bit unique, because again, and I've been places, since the portal's come into play where you commit and they're in the portal right now, and the reality is you don't know who's going to have someone come up in spring ball, who's going to lose somebody, and now they start dipping, and all of a sudden, Georgia calls them, and it's like, hey, Georgia's actually offered me, and now I'm going to go there, and you're like, well, shoot, now we don't have anybody, and so there's definitely an aspect of some of the high school kids that we got, and I think we just kind of got to a point to where uh, you know, and I'll backtrack real quick. We're not going to put anybody in position to where, listen, if all of the high school young men, the freshmen that we bring in, they're not ready to play, they're not going to play. Now we feel like that of the group, they'll get to a point to where they'll be able to help us. And so to us, combining with the development that a Chris Allen, a Chris Abraham, a Broadhurst, we're able to get this past season, it's just loading depth of guys who now you continue to develop and bring along. And to me, that's what's exciting about some of the guys. So, and that's not to say as we go through spring, it's hard to say what will happen and what will potentially come available. Like, unfortunately at the end of spring ball, and I'd been here 2 months, and was crazy excited because I think he, was going to be a dominant interior, D lineman, not just for us, but in the FCS football. Caleb Jones hits you up and has an opportunity that all of a sudden comes available, and now you're like, oh, shoot, you know what I mean? So you got to just be prepared for those type of things. And to me,
is there a point where you can actually like take a sigh of relief? Like, okay, this is the point where I don't have to worry about it for at least the end of the season, or is that
right.
Is that just so what is that point?
That's the aspect of, at least with the high school kids, with Keon Webb, with Jacob Jenkins, with Chris Kinsey, we know come August training camp and really before that summer session too, they're going to be here and they're going to be on the 2020. Now, as long as they're, uphold, they graduate, they don't do anything stupid, all that type of stuff, but they will be here as a, and we can count on starting to build out depth chart plans, etc., for them. So to me, again, I think it just kind of came down to, at what point are we better off getting who we feel like are really high caliber high school kids that, before the portal came about, would we be able to get some of these kids? And the reality is I think, maybe we could, but there's a large chance that, maybe we wouldn't. So now would you rather take this development and when, the upside is significant to where, you may have a plug and play guy that's maybe going to walk in more ready, but throughout the season and throughout training camp and all that, you may be able to develop and bring this guy along enough to where you're like, listen, that guy would have been more ready day one, but this guy, when he's ready, is going to surpass whatever that guy could have brought to the table. And to me, I think that's the true essence of, what the recruiting, the relationship, college football was predicated and built on, was being able to see, unmolded clay as you brought in. And the hope is that 4 years down the road, you're like, man, look who would ever thought we would have got this young man to this point, you know what I mean? And so, like I said, I'm really excited because, we got some size and some guys who all three bring unique things that we didn't have, I don't think currently on the roster in terms of just, traits in regards to a Keon Webb. I mean, we haven't had an interior guy. Well, let me not, I don't want to sit here and act like I know all of A&T history, but we got an interior guy that's literally 6'6", you know what I mean? With the length and the size, walking in, from ground. We've got a, and Jacob Jenkins, like literally is going to walk in at 320. We're not trying to feed him, and get him to that in the hopes of time, you know what I mean? So, and then Chris Kinsey to me, who I'm really excited about as well, is already
that's impressive guy.
280, 285 has size, but he has a unique tool of, he's a, 386 GPA, high motor, but really high level intelligence, quickness, and explosiveness. Obviously, within the family that, his oldest brother's, a 10 flat 100-meter guy who ran track here at A&T and brought, you know what I mean? And so I doubt he weighed 280 when he was running track here. So, you know what I mean? But there's obviously a DNA and a trait, an aspect that he provides to where, you get three guys that I feel like, you're going to be like, man, they've got three interior guys, and hopefully right away we'll be able to provide some stuff. But if not, in a year or two, you're like, man, they're on wheels.
So I'm asking Coach and Doug, just hold tight. Real, I'm gonna give you one more shot, Dougie. But Coach, can you hear? Say something, Doug. Are you good? Are you good?
I thought I was good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you good. You good. All right. So you have your question ready before you freeze up, Doug. But based on what you said, Coach, huh?
I'm in football talk. I'm good.
Yeah. All right. So, Coach, do you feel like this is your truth story moment right here? If you had to go and play, if you had to go to where we got to go to Richmond this year or Townsend, and you didn't add any more defensive tackles, you didn't get nobody from the portal over the summer or anything like that. Do you have enough right now with what we signed and what we have coming back from last year? Hopefully, no one hits that transfer portal before September. Do you feel comfortable right now that we got enough to have at least a punter's chance to play some good defense? Okay.
Yes.
You
do. And the best part about it is if nothing else, we've got enough depth of size, interior wise, to where it's not, God bless some of the guys that, a DT Glover who we were having to throw in there at 3 technique. And the reality is against Elon, I mean,
that's
and
tough.
He strained and he fought. But
that's tough, man.
He's 240.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just hey, these are the bodies that we have available. And you're kind of asking guys to do jobs that, aren't really what you intended them to do and what they're built to do. And so, if nothing else, now we've got, knock on wood, because, you don't want to get decimated by injury, but now instead of 3 guys that are, 280 plus, now you at least got 6 guys, 7 guys, you know what I mean?
Roll them out. Right.
And so I think even just a Henry Daniel, another example, and listen, he works and competes as hard as you could ever want someone to, and did everything he could to get himself, as heavy as he could, knowing like, hey, listen, we're going to have you play the stud, which is what we call basically primarily the 3 tech and shoot. We even had him play nose against Hampton, but the reality is he was like a full-time job working to just try to get to 260, 265, but he's really in buck by nature. That's what he is. And so just the ability to have mass, and at the end of the day, it's obviously they've got big guys too, but it's a lot easier to move someone who's 260 than it is to move someone who's 300 pounds. You know what I mean? 40 pounds makes a bit of a difference. So just from just the sheer physics of things, it's going to be much better picture.
And then over the course of the season, that weight, I mean, that really starts to you can do it maybe 1 or 2 times in the beginning of the season. But by week 8, 9, 10, you feel that weight laying on you. But hey, Doug, you want to jump in? You got something, Coach, real quick?
I'm sorry. I don't want you to think I don't want to talk to you, man.
No, you're good.
Some other time, man. But again, just impressed with the job you're able to do. Impressed with how well the kids, the staff. I told these guys that anytime you're a coordinator, you have to be a great communicator. And I think you showed that you're a great communicator. And that you're a great teacher as well. So I know a bunch of boys from up there at VA. Around that time, I might be a year or 2 older than you, man, but I was headed up that way for a minute. So Emmanuel Byers, some of the boys that you had a chance to play with, I checked in on you, man, and a chance to get here. So everybody had glowing things to say about you. And even the fact that yesterday, you were able to interact with the crowd, interact with the AAF members, and provide that knowledge that you got some tough guys out there besides Craig that are asking questions. They want to know, they really want to know the behind the scenes information, and you guys were able to provide that in a way that I think folks are really satisfied with. But you guys did a great job last season. I didn't get a chance to comment on that earlier, but we were able to see some of those little things even within the first game. I mean, you didn't give up a passing touchdown in the first game, and you guys were breaking on the balls and in position to make great plays. So, I had some confidence that I was able to build with over the course of the season. And I've been banging on the table telling these guys, that we were doing some great things schematically on defense. And so I'm encouraged.
He's been saying it. Yeah.
I've been saying it fairly early. And so when we had those results against Elon, like you said, when you're playing shorthanded and still were able to hold them on third down the way we were, what we did against Delaware. And I think you can point to moments within all the games where we looked really good and did some really good things on defense. So
outside of Towson, that's the one that's the thorn in my side right now. I'll be honest with you. That Towson game, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, there's this one video I showed from that Towson game. They was just running through us like a knife through butter. But it happens. Hey,
I don't even think there was a knife involved. It was just buttermilk.
It's buttermilk. Hey, check this out. Before we let you go, because I know you've been so cool with your time. So you have what, 3 little ones? Yeah. What's your family situation?
I got a 5-year-old named Dexter. I've got a 2.5-year-old named Crosby and a 5-month-old named Morgan.
Nice.
And you said Morgan?
Morgan, yep.
Morgan came at an opportune time, not inopportune, opportune time. She came right by the season opener, right? The UAB game.
Well, and of course, of all years to get here, it wouldn't be like we're going to be down the road and play Duke or play Wake Forest. Like we had to go to Birmingham, Alabama, so it was like a hop in the car and drive, from the hospital to Winston-Salem or Durham. It's a different time zone. So
what happened? So did you get a call like basically?
Well,
tell the situation. Yeah.
Well, because her due date that technically wasn't until like mid-September, so knew obviously it was going to potentially play, and so hoping it's a home game, and then just some things start to happen, and the doctor's like, hey, I think we should go ahead and she's far along enough, just for mom's health, baby's health, let's go ahead and just get things going. And so of course, my psychotic, and I tell you what, the doctor looked at me like, this guy can't be serious. I'm like, listen, is there any way we can do it this day or this, and she's like, I really think we need to do it, and so so then in my head I'm counting down, all right, what's the team's leaving now. And I ran up against this dumb football guy and all these medical people, and it just, listen, it was a battle I wasn't destined to win from day one, man.
You're not gonna win that one. Hey, so look, so we gotta go. You're still a man of mystery. You shed a lot of light about yourself and the fan base tonight, but we still gotta connect these dots before we let you go. So let's talk about, how did you even find out about this A&T opportunity to be defensive coordinator? Because is this am I correct? This is your first full defensive coordinator job?
Correct.
Okay.
So had the good opportunity of I could go through the whole history of it, but Coach Brown and I initially connected actually my senior year at Virginia. He came in as quote unquote a GA, but he was unlike any other GA we had ever seen, and that I'm used to and accustomed to. A lot of times you don't get a GA that's a 8-9 year NFL vet and is nicknamed the Undertaker and all these different type of things. And so we initially connected there, and then when Coach London came in 2010, and I was already a GA, and we actually had all got fired with Coach Grove. He was on staff, and so connected again, and then was out of it for a little bit, and then was able to come back in Connecticut. So my son Dexter is named after a guy named Anthony Poindexter, who's the Cody actually at Penn State, and so he was my position coach, and his youngest daughter is actually mine and my wife's goddaughter, and so that's where Dexter comes from. Because a lot of times people will look at me and they're like, after that serial killer, show and all that. I'm like,
I forgot.
I'm like, that's not the aspirations for us. Although at least that guy was killing bad people, not good people, but nonetheless, and he told me he was ever, if he ever had up to, he's going to have me start making some moves. He was going to call me, and sure enough, he called me in 2014, and so went up there with him to Connecticut, and then was at VMI, and then with Lafayette College, and then actually a guy that I kind of showed the ropes to, that I met at Connecticut, a guy named Tyler Stockton. Him and I worked together as on the defensive side of Connecticut. He called me in 2018 because he just got the defensive coordinator job at Western Illinois, and so went out there with him, and we kind of started to build what you're seeing now. And again, it's I say build. Listen, we didn't create this defense from a scratch piece of paper and nothing on it. You know what I mean? It's really more just tweaks and adjustments of terminology and things that, listen, wanting to always be able to, and my big thing was teach and be able to answer why questions.
Let me slow you down. So this is your defense. This is not Coach Brown's defense. We're running
Correct.
Coach Jay-Z's defense.
Correct.
Oh,
yeah,
man. Hey, Doug, give me one of those Jamaican air horns. That's pretty. Yeah. We didn't know that. I thought. Listen, I didn't think you were just like a grocery clerk, right? I knew you were making things happen, but we all assumed that since Coach Brown was the defense coordinator of William and Mary, he's going to bring his style, his terminology, all his nuances here. But he trusted you so much. He said, "Hey, Coach Jay-Z, I want you to run what you want to run."
Right. And to be honest, that was actually a big aspect of why I was so excited and the intrigue of it, because when in talking with them, that was important to me because of the amount of time that was spent. And again, I want to make sure I make it clear, did not build this thing from nothing. And I will by no means say that I deserve any type of credit of that. It literally was just predicated off of, our foundation is all from Coach Brown, Al Groh, that whole lineage of terminology. And obviously I learned it. I know it very well. I'm very, very familiar with it from a number of years in it. But, there was aspects of it that I always wanted to just make sure, knowing that, listen, I by no means am the smartest man, and nor will I ever be the smartest man ever in a room. So I'm like, listen, if I can start to build in layers and find ways and connections to start to provide guys with multiple layers of ways to learn and draw conclusions to what their jobs and roles and responsibility are, I'm only going to be able to teach it better to be able to do that. And again, predicated from always wanting to be able to provide and give a clear answer as to why this is called that. Because I think it's important, and I always tell the guys I want them to never be afraid to ask why. And I never wanted to be the guy who stands up there and says, well, why? Because I told you so. Or why? Just because, oh, well, that's just how I know it. So that's just what I do. Now, again, it may be a crazy answer in response to your question why, in terms of, well, it rhymed with this, and within this word there's an in or there's an out, so that's why you go inside and that's why you go outside. But again, it's all predicated off of layers of, listen, you don't know what's going to potentially hit someone's brain to make it click, to be like, oh, that makes sense, now I got it.
Yeah
you know what I mean? And so had the ability to start to build it and a lot of trust, and obviously him and I are extremely close. And so it kind of started at Western Illinois, and then again I had the opportunity to reconnect with Coach Brown at William and Mary with Mike London, who actually was the newest baby. Middle name is London, after Coach London, just for the affection awesome. That I have for him, because he's the reason why I even went to Virginia, because he was only coach who stayed recruiting me and all that type of stuff.
I heard your story, because you were a hell of a running back in high school. I think not. Hey, I saw some stats. I don't know if they were Photoshop or whatever, but you had some. You had some crazy. You were a fullback, right, in high school?
Well, we ran the wing T. I mean,
you ran. It was yeah. So
the whatever you want to call it. Listen, I was a white running back. That's what I was.
No, but you put up some major numbers, and I know you said at one point you were like kind of like heavily recruited, and then whatever something happened and it kind of fell off a bit. But Mike London remembered you. He still stayed loyal, and he gave you, I guess, a preferred walk-on spot at Virginia. Okay.
Yeah, and when I try to tell guys, all the time, it would have been, it was just a different era. It's a different, if the landscape of college football wasn't what it is now, to be honest with you, I probably don't go to Virginia. But, back in the early 2000s, there wasn't streaming, there wasn't ESPN Plus, there wasn't, you saw the regional game on ABC or ESPN. It was one game, there was one Thursday game. And so, it wasn't like you'd see, and I think of it still 1AA, like you didn't see 1AAs beat 1As and hardly ever, play them really that much. And now it's just a whole different landscape, to where I probably, take the opportunity at JMU or Richmond or some of those, to be perfectly honest with you. And, because people will ask me all the time, but to me, it was just an opportunity to get into a school that I didn't have a chance of getting into. And bet on myself, and then just because of what my home situation was, they had a setup to where basically didn't have to pay hardly anything just because I qualified for enough financially, and then played as a true freshman, prefer walk on, and obviously the rest of that was history. But it was again an opportunity when I got to win Mary when Coach London called. That was too good to be true, because Dexter was just born. He was a couple months old, and my wife and all of her family is literally pretty much born and bred from Richmond, Virginia, down to Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and spread out through. And she's got a pretty large family, and it's like how convenient it is to get a job, a Division I job back in that area, because it ain't like there's many opportunities for that. So it wasn't expected to be a 1-year deal, and then lo and behold, Tyler Stockton calls me after the 2019. He was like, Jay-Z, you ain't gonna believe what just happened, but I'm getting promoted. What is it gonna take to get you to come up here with me? And threw things out there, and sure enough, he called me and was like, done. And some of them I didn't even think would be able to probably happen. And so was fortunate enough, because of just how close him and I are and what our relationship was, is really hands-on, and just being able to collectively collaborate and build a product that we feel strongly about and good about, and again was fortunate just to walk into a situation where year one we win the MAC championship and win the first bowl game in school history, and then go to back-to-back bowl games. And so we just had some really good success, and like I said, it was just an opportunity to where I had been feeling for some time, listen, I'm ready to officially be the run it and call it as fortunate of the situation that I was in. And like I said, when Coach Brown and I had talked, and I think initially he wasn't thinking or wasn't sure if I would have legit interest, and my affinity for him and just knowing the type of man that he is and the type of program that he will run, and the importance of developing the young men holistically, not just on the football field, which is a pillar of why I'm in the profession. I knew a lot of boxes were going to be checked. So, it was a easy decision. And to me, being a white male, I do not take it lightly, nor is it missed on the fact that I have a wonderful opportunity to be embraced and accepted and be around, in North Carolina, A&T State University, Agricultural Technical State University. I'm just to say that I'm honored and humbled was an understatement for sure. And so again, I'm just excited about, what we have here and the opportunity that I have been blessed with. And so, like I said, really, really, really long-winded way, to just say, it's something that it was a very, very easy decision. And it's one of those deals where, moving forward, as much as, first time as this, felt more than ready to, step into this. And the fact that Coach Brown was 100% on board with, listen, you run what you want to run, trusting me enough, and us being close enough, having known each other for the amount of time, to allow me to do that, wasn't missed on me either. Cause there's plenty of situations where, as you kind of assumed or alluded to, where you would think, oh, well, it's probably just this, and for him to just, give me full control of it, was a significant part about it. And that's not to say either. I mean, listen, he's obviously been doing it for a long time. He's got suggestions, I'm all ears. I want him. I embrace him. Listen, none of us are as smart as all of us. That's kind of how I've always operated. And
so he's not a micromanager. He's not, because I just assume like he's like, hey, Josh, get out the way. Let me run this for the recorder. He's gonna let you do what you do. He
is. Now listen, cool. I mean, if I start messing up now, let's see what happens, I guess. But
right.
But no, he's awesome. I couldn't ask for a better head coach to work for and be mentored by, all the above.
Well, look, we gotta let you go because it's been an hour, and I told you it's gonna be on for like 15, 20 minutes. I can't do this to you. I know you
so,
got a
listen,
wife.
the funny thing is my wife knows too, because she basically starts adding time, because as soon as I tell her, listen, we've got a meeting, I'll be home by this time, she's like,
Oh, man.
I'm gonna add an hour to it. You start getting into football now, and the guys even know now at the time, they're like, listen, you better tell Jay-Z to you got to basically preface whatever you wanted to end, go ahead and just add 30 minutes to it, because if we start talking ball, now we're gonna really get crazy.
That's how I am too. So look here, that's compromise here. I'm gonna let you go now, and then unless I say something crazy on Twitter, you agree.
Listen, you ain't gonna fit me. Listen, you ain't gonna say nothing I ain't been called or ain't been told about anyway. So go for it.
Let's link up again after the spring game, and let's do another interview after the spring game and talk about everything that went down and assess where we're going on for that point into the rest of all season. Because I'm talking, man, this is like hey Doug, me and you have these kind of conversations about 4 times a day on the phone, and this is the first time I had an actual real X's and O football conversation with an actual head coach here at A&T. This is perfect.
I don't have to talk anymore because I guess I don't have to fuss and beat the tape because you done heard him say everything. So
I know he said everything. Yeah.
But now it doesn't sound crazy. Aggie Nation doesn't sound crazy because we know the man said it himself. So no, but for real, man, you've earned at least 2 more things, man. You've earned invite to the tailgate, so you got to come through, bring the family to the tailgate.
Well, listen, there's a whole nother story now, because if you talk to any of the guys too, and you ask, especially linebackers, now I got the craziest eating habits you ever see. So now I have no problem chopping a tailgate, but the food that's where everyone's like, well, why didn't you? I'm like, well, you ain't gonna see me eat it until I do. But the problem is I'm one of those people, like, as soon as the game ends, like, I will not. It doesn't matter if the game finishes at 10:30 at night or if it finishes at 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm gonna grade it, and I've got to watch it right away. Like it's an OCD like problem. I got it. Whether it's a win or whether it's a loss, I got to see it. So that's typically what I'm in a hurry to do. But anyway, sorry. I definitely need to come by, because I think I've passed it a couple times too. And listen, don't get me wrong. Now I keep the windows up on purpose, and it's not because I don't want to hear everybody booing at me. It's really more so because the smell from the tailgate is so amazing. I'm like,
it's a lot. Hey,
it's making me hungry.
Deuces, man. You know what it is.
Hey, coach. Before we let you go, are you still recruiting? Right, you're always recruiting 24/7.
It's a full-time deal now, for sure.
Okay, so listen, I don't want to be too presumptuous here, but I might have a guy you might want to consider. He's he's kind of like you. He's a former he has a running back background, but he also played a lot of special teams. And he's at an FBS school. You might can get him out the transfer portal, but you might have to build a time machine. So check this guy out and tell me what you think about this.
3 advantage, snap good. Yes, that one is blocked. The Cavs go after it and get it. Zidenberg got the block, and the ball is at the 15-yard line. You gotta love it.
And that quarterback's always the easy target, but they'll block that punt.
They did. Blocked out of bounds down to the 4-yard line.
And Josh Zidenberg, number 25, Mark, he lines up and beats number 86 right there from Miami. Ross Abramson, the long snapper. The toughest block is for that center.
So look, coach, I don't want to tell you what to do, but there's a guy, I know a guy, and he's a special teams ace. You just gotta go.
Listen, well, then you got to try to really pull out the archive. One, not big enough, not tall enough, not fast enough, not twitch enough, poor COD, terrible looking hair. All right, terrible swag. His game dress was, listen, I can't believe they even let him on the sideline in dress. I will say, if you can dig it out, I'll give you a little bit of homework. My longest kickoff return was actually against our first opponent this upcoming season.
Wake Forest.
So
Wake
Forest. So we'll see if you can dig that one. Now listen, I'm also not gonna say, listen, after about 50 yards, that wagon jumped on my back now. So it wasn't like I took it to the house, but I think I went 55 or 60. So.
Oh man, that's awesome. All right, hey Craig, any last word for this for Coach Jay-Z before we let him go?
Nah, listen. This has been rich. I really appreciate you coming on, Coach. It's been very enlightening, and I know our fan base and I know my AAF donors will truly open up those wallets now after tonight. So appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Well, no, thank y'all so much for having me. And again, it really had nothing to do with, not wanting to be on and all that stuff. As we kind of got started, as the season went on, being year one, I really just wanted to focus on that. And then, I just personally knew, especially last night, I was like, listen, I know this event's supposed to be from this time to this time. I'm like, listen, there ain't no way we're going to get done. Just knowing myself, I'm going to go longer than be able to be ready by 8:00. And so, but yeah, I just appreciate your support, good, bad, and different. And again, to me, it's, as fans and then also, alumni and supporters, your expectations should be your expectations, and you're entitled to your expectations, and you should want to see a product, and you deserve to see a product that makes you proud. And as much as the scoreboard, this year didn't show, what we want it to be, the expectation and the desire for it to show it, I personally, I don't want that to ever fade, because A&T deserves to have that type of product on the field and deserves the scoreboard to reflect it. And I just appreciate, staying the course, because I know it's not the easiest thing to do all the time, but don't relent on what you expect and what you want out of us, and it's our job to provide that, and don't feel bad about it.
No problem. All right, Coach Jay, go ahead and enjoy the family. We'll see. Hey, we're gonna see your spring game at the end. We're gonna have an exclusive interview again with Coach Jay-Z after the spring game. I'm putting you on the spot right now, and we definitely appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
All right, appreciate it, fellas.
All right, thanks, sir. All right.
I told you guys. Well, I told you, Samaj. Craig told you too, man. The guy's got puzzle pieces, man.
He's sharp, man.
Hey, I'm giving him another nickname, Coach Jay-Z Jigsaw. The Jigsaw, man. He got all
Jigsaw, man. All right, we might need to work on that one a little bit, because it wasn't Jigsaw, the serial killer from the movie.
Listen,
I don't know if that's a good one.
Got all the puzzle pieces, man. Watch him. He always posts those puzzle pieces, those jigsaw puzzle pieces. That's my guy. No, but he's for real, man. That staff, all those guys at UPA, under Coach Al Grove, Mike London, Ron Prince, name it. Those guys, bro. All those guys went and get coaching jobs, and you get the way around that Virginia area, and as far as what he said, Illinois, wherever they went. Quality guy, man. Like we said, guys have nothing but positive things to say about him. Knows defense in and out, has seen it, has coached it, and I'm excited, man. If I'm a kid on that staff, I'm perk up. I'm excited.
I'm running through walls for that guy. Hey, Dougie, because he knows what he's doing, man. Like you don't feel like, man, Coach, are you serious? Like he can sell his vision, man. So I'm all in. I'm all in, man. Yeah. All right, so look, we guys, we got like 23 minutes. We have a hard stop here around 9:30 because this has been a long couple days, and we got these great exclusive interviews. And so, Craig, we're gonna give our grade on sign day class at the end of the show. Well, let's bring some guys in here, some fans that we haven't had our fans come on the show in a while. Let's jump on Aggie 94. Aggie 94, what's up, man?
What's going on, guys? How we doing? Another great interview. I tell you what, y'all batting 1,000 here over the past couple of podcasts. I'm enjoying it.
Man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that to death. So look, Kid 94, you gotta tell us, man. Like you've heard the players yesterday. You heard the coach, Coach Jay-Z tonight. What is your assessment of this sign day period, and are you prepared to give a grade on the whole effort at this point?
Preliminary grade of A. Of course, you never know until you put the ball down and you see what you got. But very intentional about trying to fill the needs that were there. And what I've been most impressed with, and it really came to bear tonight hearing Coach Zidenberg talk about what they're doing. The guys that they recruited, I mean, they recruited for a specific need, but they recruited guys that, could play from what I've seen in multiple positions and can do different things. to allow for the flexibility to do what we need to do. So I think it's an A, but again, we won't know until they put the ball down.
All right, let me bring Dave in. Dave, my man, I ain't seen you in a while, bro.
Hey,
What's up, man?
Hey,
It's been kind of hectic, Been kind of hectic.
Man, you pretty much on YouTube every night now. You on your own
Right.
show or HBCU Nightly. I can't miss you, man. So real quick, Dave. So you heard these last 2 days of interviews and everything, and you seen the announcements and the list that put out by the school. What is your overall assessment? And give me a grade.
Well, when the early signing period, defensive line, like particularly in the interior, and we got that with the second part two, so to speak. So I'll give it an A as well. I'm with Aggie 94. It's an A. I think we got some starters that's going to show up. We might have a true freshman start on the defensive line at this rate, man. And that wouldn't be a bad thing, because I think the big thing that killed us defensively was the fact that we had nobody big in the middle. They did their best with what they had, but
you know what? And Coach Jay-Z, Dougie, he alluded to that. He says, okay, they're young, right? But the advantage is we got depth now.
Yep.
So it's not like we're just running two guys out there the whole season and saying y'all got to make it work for 11 games. Now we can at least rotate these guys in waves, and if they, you do your best to eat up some space, and then you come off, and we got somebody else in there with equal talent, so it's not a drop off. So I can see a pathway of how we can make that work.
Defense won't get tired.
And if that tape looks like anything that we saw, these boys are going to be able to ball out.
They all have different skill sets, different size, different skill sets. They all bring those unique qualities, but they all get after it, right? They all get after it. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do with them. Situation-wise, he'll be able to stick them in and really take advantage of some of those tools. So, man, that's all you want. That's all you want.
And Craig, I know you were all in to begin with, man. You're always kind of a more optimist than myself, at least. But hearing Coach Jay-Z tonight, like how solidified are you about just the prospects of this program moving forward?
Talking to me?
Craig.
Oh, Craig. Okay.
Me? Oh, okay. Yeah. The internet's kind of slow because the audio cut out for a second. Well, I think I'm just looking at. I look at rosters and I look at other teams around the league. I don't think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to put together pieces. I'll have a better idea after spring ball, but probably right now is probably going to be somewhere in the middle or just outside the top four. Just on the personnel improvements and based upon what these other rosters are looking like and what we did against certain teams last year. We are probably.
You're saying top four in CAA? You're saying top.
I said we'll be just outside the top four.
Right.
Yeah, we'll be just outside the top four next season. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
With a little bit of luck, you can't never tell. But just looking at it, we're going to be right. We're going to be in the middle of it. We'll be relevant next year. And that's about as far as I'm going to go until I have a chance to really dissect rosters and look around the league. Delaware's on its way out. Their conference games won't count. Well, they'll count in the standings, but they're not eligible to represent the conference in any kind of postseason play this year. So that puts kind of a different scheme on it because you don't know how that's going to affect their. And how what they're doing up there as far as preparing for the season and whether they're looking to try to make a splash in the FBS next year or they're going to try to go out with a bang. Generally, when teams move up like that, they can take a kind of a so-so approach to conference schedules. Villanova's going to be good again. Townsend's going to be good. They got a great coaching staff up there as well. But I think we addressed our biggest concerns with this recruiting class. They're going to be young, but we have enough people coming back who played a lot of minutes last year. And after talking to Coach Brown last night and looking at what our kids have been doing in the off season, as far as the strength conditioning and adding bulk, we won't be fading away in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Like we did in some of the games. I don't see that happening. Not with what we added. So we're going to be a pretty good football team.
I kind of was hoping that Delaware wasn't on our schedule this year because they were leaving. Because
the fun thing is that we got them here. We got them here. We got them early, and generally they don't play all that great early. They get better as the season goes on, but normally they start slowly. And you got to remember they had 21 6-year guys on their roster. They don't have those guys anymore, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They had a lot of guys hit the portal. Matter of fact, we got one of them, and Noah Sanders. So not cool. Everything doesn't stay stagnant or static in the college football, especially in the CAA, because there's been a lot of roster turnover.
Hey, but Dave, you got to remember too, like Craig said, when we beat Appalachian State the last time, they were in the transition year, and they had an awful year. When they moved up to FBS that 1 year, they won like 4 or 5 games, and we were the first team to beat them that season. Yeah. So Delaware might, if they're looking like too far ahead.
Well, it's also some kids don't want to go there. They know they can't go to the postseason. It's pretty much like it's a year where they can't win a championship.
Yeah. So this could be this could be like a whole trap year for them. This entire year could be a trap year where they just not focused. So yeah, that's a good point. That's good. So 94, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so channel your inner me, okay? Because I'm always a little bit worried about something, right? So based on what you've seen, I think we adequately address all our gaping needs and holes that we have on our roster. I think we at least addressed it, right? What is the one area that you still have a slight concern about going into the spring?
Wide receivers.
Oh, wide receivers. Okay.
Wide receivers. We're going to be young there. Again, it looks like we have a lot of talent. I'm hoping that they're going to push some of the older guys that we have there, but I'm just going to be interested in seeing what we can do moving the ball through the air, and we've got to have better play out of our wide receivers. Of course, we all know who the big culprit of was that, and we're glad that person who shall not be named is gone.
No longer there. Hey, Doug, do you have any concerns about wide receivers? Because I know you're bullish on a lot of stuff. So, is there any concerns that you have about that wide receiver group at this point?
Well, not at this point. We still have good leadership in the room with my boy Monte. Monte.
He's a baller.
He's a baller. He's a young guy.
Doug's internet, man. We're gonna have to send us some bandwidth or something.
I tell you, man, that was an American Online rep going around the city. He came by my house last week, and then I think he stopped by Doug's house this week, and he's selling these.
I'll keep it a buck, man.
Packages.
You need competition, otherwise they're gonna start charging you double once all these channels decide to do their a la carte.
Oh yeah. So
are they doing dial-up in Greensboro? Is that what's going on?
I don't know, man. We struggling, man. But at least we got the interviews out the way. I don't mind struggling with y'all clowns, but at least we got the big fish.
If my internet starts, I'm gonna be making phone calls. My internet starts chopping up like that, bro.
Oh man, yeah.
I'm just saying, it's valuable to me.
Yeah, I know, man. Like, I don't know what's going on. We might have to have a staff meeting. But check this out, Dave. So right now. Craig says he sees us finishing right outside the top 4. Are you willing? I know.
That's what happened to me last year. I had to give money to Jackson State.
I know.
Last year.
And that was what was over under on that? You said
2.
3 games.
I needed. All I needed was 3 wins. 2 would have been a push.
And you couldn't even get that. Good
Nah.
Lord. Okay.
3 plays is the why I didn't get it.
Well, it's like going to the casino, man. You if you lose, you kind of double down and try to make your money back up the next time around. So are you willing to go out on the limb and have a initial prediction on where you think this team can be next year?
Not yet.
I'm
not ready yet. I need to see what how the quarterback situation pans out, to be honest with you. Only because I'm hoping that with the new offensive coordinator that actually knows what they're doing, because they'll make a decision on who the quarterback's going to be sooner than later. Like I think before we play Wake Forest, we should know who our starter is.
Oh no, I think, and I don't want to be too, I don't want to be too presumptuous here, but I think it's definitely Justin Fomby's job to lose. Not saying
I think KJ is going to give him a run for his money. It'll be interesting. I think KJ has a shot to win that job. I think those are the two that's going to be a competition.
Dave, so you saying with Noah Sanders, Justin Fomby, and Braxton Thomas, you saying that you can see you can envision a scenario where the first quarterback that comes out under center against Wake Forest is KJ White. You can see.
I could see a scenario. I think I agree with you that it's Fomby's job to lose, but I don't think it's like cut and dry. Is my point. But I could see a scenario that if KJ improves and Fomby doesn't show what he's supposed to show, because I think Fomby's talented. I think he can do it. I think it's not I don't think because of the experience. I just don't think it's that shoe. And I think KJ's going to push him, and that's not a bad thing to be pushed.
I hope, and I got no foreknowledge on this, right? I just think that based on what everybody's saying about KJ, they're going to play him no matter what. Like, I don't know if he's going to have to be the starter.
He's going to have a package, I think.
He's going to have a package.
He's going to have a package.
I just don't see you going I don't see you going a game unless he's hurt, right? I don't see you going a game 4 quarters without finding a way to get him on the field in some form or fashion. So I think that's I just think I don't think David Marsh, by namesake, is totally blind to talent. And I think if you just see somebody obviously that quick twitch and that athletic, and based on what he did last year, you're gonna have to find a way to incorporate him. Not to take any thing away from Justin Fomby if he wins the job, but in the way that Justin Fomby was speaking last night, it seems like he's impressed by KJ White already himself.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like there's going to be a little, no beef between those two guys. So.
No, I don't think it's going to be beef. It's going to be healthy competition. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want what happened last year when we got this carousel. Like I don't want a carousel, man.
You know what? And I don't want to kick a man while he's down and unemployed. But I think that
please do.
No. We still got to have some good.
I ain't gonna kick the guy when he's down, but
I think we were so bad at evaluating talent and then misusing skill sets that we could have had Tom Brady and whoever
Mahomes.
Mahomes. We could have had Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and that thing still wouldn't have worked.
But you know what the difference would have been? If we had Tom Brady, Mahomes, and Rodgers, they wouldn't have listened to him.
Yeah,
they would have just did their own thing. But the thing is, our quarterbacks were young too.
They were young.
The one with the most experience was probably Hook.
Really?
By the way, and I think Hook's going to win that job in Florida A&M. I'm going to be clear when I say that.
Who? So let's do a little. Who is the? I know the incumbent has already graduated. Right?
He graduated. Moose is gone.
So, but I thought they had some big old.
They had a transfer from FIU. I think he could beat him.
FIU, okay. So,
I think he could beat him.
Right. So, and the Hooker family is smart, man. They're not going to make another move into a situation that doesn't have a pathway for success. So, I think they at least got a feeling that they at least can. Because
he's got a higher shot to win the job than Yeager do. And Howard, I can tell you that Howard's got 6 quarterbacks, bro.
No. I think Yeager. If you want to make a gentleman's bet for about $5.
No, we're not. No. Well, there's things that I know that I can't talk about. So.
Oh, okay. So you might have some inside knowledge, but based on what I saw in that damn Celebration Bowl, Yeager.
Well, Q Will's gone, so he's gone.
But if he was a starter, who was behind him? That's
some folks think that the backup was better than Q Will. A lot of Howard alums think that the backup that they had last year was a better quarterback than Q Will.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if Yeager is a starting quarterback.
Oh, I wouldn't be either.
Week one and Howard.
I just don't. I just don't think it's cut and dry. I just like listen. You know, I do HBCU nightly. I got my own show now.
Yeah.
Let's just say the Yeager. I was getting questions about Yeager. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, got you.
So, because I pretty much said he probably ended up winning that job, but
Yeah. All right, guys.
So I ain't making that bet.
All right, so Craig, you're A 94. What are you? Are you up to the A now? I know you were like in the B's before early sign day. Where you at now? You're the straight A. You're solid A for this.
Solid A.
Solid A.
Solid
what about
A.
you, Dave? What about you?
Oh, it's an A. It was an A before because I had faith that we'll plug some guys. But like what they did in the early gave me an A from the gate because that told me that they knew what they need.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the key. That's what I wanted to see. Right. Like that was the key. I wanted to see if they knew what they need, and this early sign of they showed it, and they just closed the deal. They just closed the deal with the official sign of that.
Dougie, we had an A.
Man, just here, man. I'm just here. That's why I got my boys 94 and Dave in here, man. I can step out. You know, the show don't miss a beat, man. Might get better when I'm not on. I don't know.
No,
I told them that we y'all need the competition down there in Greensboro, but I just need them to up the bandwidth for your crib, bro.
Man, come on.
You know what it is, man? Hey, I don't know because so last week it was my computer. I checked my uploads time and my Wi-Fi was great downloading, but uploading to the StreamYard it was just terrible.
Yeah, I'll plug in direct. Like I don't mess around with that.
When you do a straight line to your?
I got a router.
Yeah.
That router line goes straight to the computer because I cannot.
Yeah,
because when I was doing Wi-Fi, I would go back and watch my replays, and I would be choppy as all hell, and I couldn't do it.
It's rough, man. Yeah, so
couldn't do it.
We'll figure it out. Say again, Dougie.
It's Josh's fault. It's your fault.
I know. I started, man. Well, like I was telling these guys, like at least we got the good stuff out the way. We got two great interviews.
That was a good interview too, man.
Two great interviews.
Excellent.
Justin Fonby and Christian Tyson yesterday, and then of course, Coach Jay-Z tonight. And that dude, man, I feel bad because I want to talk to him for like another hour. I'm like, man, yeah. But I was like, if I keep him for an hour and a half for a whole show, he ain't never coming back. So I wanted him to be a regular, man. And I'm gonna have to have like a little alert on my Twitter account. So when I want to post something crazy, I got like, hold on a second, don't do that yet. Don't go that far because we still got to get Jay-Z back for the spring game. So I'm gonna have to pace myself a little bit. But Craig, it's almost that time. I know we've had some technical difficulties, but we made it through. Let's get a final word. Let's get a final word, and we can get out of here and get some rest finally.
Well, I think this week has been very enlightening. I think it was interesting tonight to hear Coach Jay-Z talk about the reason why they go after high school guys versus portal guys, and I thought that was an important point. I don't think a lot of people understood that portal guys aren't necessarily tied to you, even if they say they're committing to you until they actually show up and get enrolled. And we saw that last year when Tootin left and went formally first announced he was going to go to Boston College, and then what was it, like 4 days later or 5 days later he switches over and goes to Virginia Tech. Yeah, it's a crapshoot. I'm not a big portal fan. From the standpoint, I just think it's just too unstable to try to put a whole lot of time and effort into it and resources into it. The college football now is, especially on the FBS level, now is pretty much highest bidder, and that's really what it's come down to. And I agree with Coach Z. I really invest in the high school kids. We if you go, if you lose a kid, you're gonna lose him. If it's a better opportunity, then so be it. But and filling up when those kids do leave is a lot. It's a lot better to have them, as you said, a lot better to have them for 2 or 3 years than to not have them at all. I thought that was tonight that opened. Hopefully that opened a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. So it's right at 9:30. Hey, anybody got a score on the on the basketball game? Should I ask?
They were down by like 13 at the half.
It's like 54-41, something like that, I think.
Oh, they're about the same path they were at halftime, so they ain't too bad.
Yeah, so we got to get Glasper healthy, man.
Bro, we miss Glasper big time, man. But they're playing with their hearts out.
Yeah. So look, guys, I'll be on site, man. Anybody want to talk some Blue Death Valley stuff? I'll be at the game on Saturday. My normal spot on front row. I feel like Jack Nicholson, man. I got my floor seats at Corbett, so I'll see all you guys out and about. Me and my security detail. But let's go ahead and get out of here. It's been a great couple days, man. We'll probably take a couple weeks off until spring ramps up. We'll figure out our Wi-Fi issues collectively around here, around the Inside the Valley crew. We'll get better. But until then, thank you guys so much for joining us on this bonus round. Thank you so much, Coach Jay-Z, for coming out and spending time with us tonight and shedding light on that Blue Death defense. His version. That was a nugget that we didn't know. This is his version of the Blue Death defense. This is not Coach Brown's defense. This is Jay-Z's defense. I did not know that. But for Doug Brown, Aggie 94, main man Dave, and of course the president, Craig Turner, I am Samaj Marsh. This has been a special episode of Inside the Valley. See you next time. Peace. Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.